want to go into something that I feel is really, really important for me to communicate to the community, because I have seen a lot of questions, and we do these presentations, but not everybody is available, right, for these presentations, and not everyone has the time to sit through a 2 hour, video, or even read a detailed document. So what I have done is come up with a very simple way for everyone to understand what's going on here and how we will get to mainnet. So I've broken up our launch into 3 phases: ready, set, go. So it's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So we are currently at phase 1. That's what I'm going to talk about today. But I want to share with you the highlights also of phase 2 and phase 3. Now, be prepared for a ton of detail. Here we go. Phase 1, very complicated. There's a lot of moving parts, and it may not be obvious to you from just looking at the outside, but believe me, it is a very complex endeavor, and we are looking at this as a September and October kind of time frame. We are unable to give specific dates on any of these things because there's a lot of external dependencies, government dependencies, third-party dependencies, technical dependencies, etc. So, but this is the plan, and as we are, you can go left to right and see the main items that we are talking about here. So the main items are the testnet, the DAO, mainnet RC1, marketing. Marketing is extremely important for our success, the booster sale, and then Nexus. So let me go through each one, and to the point where you get bored, but I'm sorry I have to do this because I want to make sure you're informed. So here's where we are. So with testnet, you can see here there's 3 types of icons here. There's a green check mark for something that's already done. There's a play icon for something that is in progress, and there's a pause icon for something that's yet to be started. So you can see there's a lot of play icons here. That means we're working on a lot of stuff at the same time, but we also have a bunch of things done. So with testnet, so we have 0.5.1 released. The rebasing feature is in there. The source repo is out there. The next thing we're going to do is publish a Genesis repo. The idea behind the Genesis repo is you're going to see the raw files for the wallets that are going to get the Nexus tokens, right? So that's basically pointing back to everyone who sacrificed. No matter how you sacrificed, you'll be eligible for tokens. So that raw data would be in the Genesis repo. It would also have all the validators. It would have all the backers, and it would have all the DEX. So that was previously UXI. So all of those wallets, etc. So we want to make sure that the entire community can look at that raw data in its entirety, do your research, do everything you want to around that, and check it out before it becomes part of the protocol. So that's what the Genesis repo is. So I'm looking at the near final data here. We are trying to decide what's the best way to present it to folks. It's going to be on GitHub as a repo, so people can submit changes. We call them pull requests as needed initially, but we'll also make them available in easier to digest formats for you. But we don't have the bandwidth to build an app right now. So you're going to see the raw data. You're going to see the raw cumulative data. So you can go and look at every wallet and the tokens owed for it, and you can make your own decisions on what those wallets are, who they belong to, etc. We have sanitized and will continue to sanitize to make sure that any wallets that are ineligible for tokens are not in there. So you're going to see that. Now, the next one is auto perks. So I mentioned to you earlier how in the protocol, we are going to essentially make the perks automatically go from the vault into the pool. So that's the auto perk feature, and that's going to be implemented also. We'll update. You'll see the testnet change from probably 0.5.1 to 0.5.2 as we add some of these minor features on there. You'll also see the Explorer being visible with the Vitruvio branding, and very soon, and this will be a major testnet upgrade, so it'll probably change the versioning from 0.5 to 0.6, is we will deploy the asset base and creator base contracts. Now, when it comes to smart contracts, there are contracts that any developer can deploy anytime, but there's also something called pre-compiled contracts. So these are contracts that are built into the protocol. They ship, like when you turn the protocol on, they ship with them. They are active with them. And the cool thing about these pre-compiled contracts is that they don't use Solidity like you would with a contract that's deployed by a developer. These contracts are actually written in Go because the protocol is written in the Go language. So asset base and creator base are two primary contracts are actually going to be protocol based. Why would you want to have pre-compiled contracts? Well, you want to have pre-compiled contracts because with pre-compiled contracts, you can do interesting things around both computation, because you have the whole power of the Go language available to you, and also you can do interesting things with gas. We do intend for the payment structure around registering assets to be creator friendly. And so we will be making sure that the gas is minimal on that, and we can do that by making these pre-compiled contracts. All right, moving on to the next column, the DAO. The councils are all ready. You've seen people represent here. You've seen people talk about, etc. Our draft letter of organization around the DAO is ready. I'm going back and forth on a few edits with our in-house general counsel around that. As soon as those edits are done, you will see that shared in Discord, so you can take a look at it. We are also working on, as I alluded to earlier, the operating agreement between the DAO entity that's going to be created and the actual DAO. And really, that operating agreement emphasizes what is the role of the DAO, what specifically is the DAO controlling, and what specifically is the role of the entity and what is it doing. So the devil is in the detail, if you're talking legalese here. The next is the governance charter, which is the basic rules under which the DAO operates. Now, earlier I had thought about waiting a bit and getting this done in a more detailed fashion, but General Counsel advised us that we could make this part of our sort of, when we create the entity, have a basic charter be part of that. So we are creating a basic charter, and we are focusing mostly on financial controls. That's the bulk of what the control is about. So the second degree of control is the protocol controls, what changes are made to the protocol, etc. So those are some of the areas you can expect to see explored in the charter. And once all those are done, put together as a package, we're going to have a community vote. So you will have the opportunity to vote on the operating agreement, the governance charter, and all of those things. We'll have sort of the budget, all of those things. So we'll put it to one community vote, and based upon that vote, if that vote passes, which I hope it will, because otherwise we are screwed, we will go incorporate in the UAE, in Dubai. That's the last step of the DAO. That process, I'm assuming, maybe there are some changes we need to make based on community feedback. We'll do those changes, but we're assuming that we're going to go forward with this plan. And so the legal steps are already underway for us to be incorporated in Dubai. Okay, next comes mainnet RC1. What are all the things that are going to have to happen for that? Well, we've got DevOps already in progress. This means setting up the validator nodes, etc. All of that is in progress. Mainnet RC1 will launch with the Poet application. We want to make sure that we can start onboarding creators and give them tokens and things like that. We want to have community tokens for your participation, etc. So Poet is proof of engagement token. It's an application that's been built and is ready to go. So that will be part of mainnet RC1. We are soliciting the artworks from our artists. Actually, step back. We are working on the curation of artists first, and then they'll be creating the artworks. And if you recollect from my prior presentation, these will be augmented reality enabled. So we have the requirements on that already done. And last but not the least, we will create the booster contract, on-chain contract for which are NFTs, right? The boosters are NFTs. So the contract associated that will be deployed on mainnet RC1. Now, what happens as part of all this? How do we actually make the booster sales work? Well, we have to have a marketing campaign around that, but it's not only about boosters, it's about the overall Vitruvio success. So first of all, we're going to define a campaign for boosters. So we're going to have a very specific campaign details, and Riva will come on another download and share that campaign detail with you. We are currently working on the website. We plan on having 2 iterations for the website. One quick one right now. We just want to get enough out there so it's available, but we are working on a more in-depth website also. Next, we'll have a white paper. This is for the crypto community at large, the investor community also, who are interested in details about how Vitruvio protocol works. We will have an investor deck that has your typical investor 10 to 12 slides, your problem, solution, go to market, your competition, your user funds, etc. We will have a community deck, which is more targeted towards audiences such as creators, galleries, and so on and so forth. And of course, we'll be doing a lot of market research around that. The next important part of phase 1 is our booster sale. Now, there's a lot of preconditions to booster sale. We need to have the DAO in place. We need to have RC1 launched, etc. And this is why you're seeing that left to right progression. This is happening, in a graduated way. But that doesn't mean that we are waiting for one element to be done before we work on the others. There's some things that can be worked on in parallel, and we are doing that. The booster sales components are the program terms. Those are now finalized, and I will actually review them again for 5 minutes as part of this presentation. Legal review, done. Cap table, I presented to you the near final version of it. It's not yet final, but I will present the final one. It's been worked on. The marketing plan for that, the campaign has been worked on, and there'll be a DApp and a website associated with that also. So all of that is coming together nicely and will culminate in the booster sale. And finally, the Nexus token. So as you can see, there's a gap between the time where we've launched testnet to the point where you actually are holding in your wallet on our mainnet a Nexus token with your benefits. And those benefits are, what are your tokens, what's your vesting, what's your perks, and what's your voting rights, etc. That's going to take a little bit of time to develop, so that comes there. So we have to finalize the data, which I talked about here. That same data is going into the Genesis repo. So that's what that data refers to. We're working on the architectural details of how that NFT will work. It's not just any NFT, right? It is a utilitarian NFT. There's a lot of functionality for it. We have to design that. We are finalizing the allocations. As I mentioned, there's got to be a DApp built for it. There's got to be a dashboard built for it. So all of those things have to come together. So that, folks, is the big picture for phase 1, ready to go. And this goes through September and October. And essentially, this is make or break for us. Like, this has to be successful. It absolutely has to be successful. So you can see that a lot of thought and planning has gone into this to make sure that when we get to that booster sale, we have everything in order. And really, I plan on having more than what we have presented here in terms of projects and partners, etc., announcements lined up, so that people can have a high degree of confidence in Vitruvio and want to buy those boosters freely. Okay, I know the community I'm speaking to right now is, and I know what is the paramount question in your mind. So let me answer that question right here, right now. You want to know, show me the coins, right? So that's from Jerry McGuire, show me the money. Well, there's 2 places where you can know what coins you have. Right away, in the next few days, there's going to be a new Genesis repo. And like I said, it's going to have the raw tabular data for a wallet and the tokens it's going to have. You don't have to go looking through a DApp or anything like that. You can just download the data and look at it yourself. That's it. And then when we get to the Nexus app, you'll have a dashboard where you can look at your NFT, and you can look at your NFT on the blockchain also. You can go to the Explorer and look at it in a raw form, but we'll create a nice dashboard for you so you can see in one page you'll see how many incentives have you earned, how much rebasing is going on, what have you claimed, what have you not, etc. So it's going to be a very elaborate dashboard for you to look at it. So right now, you will be in the next few days look at the raw data around coins, and then dashboard. And I just want to emphasize again, this is not just about Vitru. This is also Vitro, which is the DEX, the UXI one. So we're going to put that data also in there, and you can see that. Now, I want to touch upon phase 2 and phase 3 also. So let me just do that. I don't have the details on that yet. We are working through that. All of this stuff takes time, folks. We have to get through planning, we have to do the research, etc. But I do have the high level items that we are looking at here. So this is phase 2 set. So that's release candidate 2. So there we are going to be looking at exchanges and bridge. So we'll start with centralized exchanges first. So that's been worked on. We are working on getting listings. This is where we will also start activating additional validators. Now, one of the things I want to do this week is we have a validator rep. So we have Baron on the multi-sig. We also have within the strategy council a validators team. This coming week, I'd like to activate that team. So I would like to talk about having a formal meeting, getting more folks on there, and formalizing, at least maybe not formalizing the word, but sort of collaborating publicly on the planning around the final perks and the final VIP validator improvement program, incentive program. Sorry, I misspoke there. So we'll activate that, and as part of that, we'll also assign a plan. We'll also assign a schedule for how validators come online. Like, what are the requirements? Which ones come online first? Which ones come online later? I don't want to be the person making that decision. Neither should any centralized sort of group of people. It should be the validator community itself that steps up and says, here's our plan. This is how we're going to do it. Because at the end of the day, this is your blockchain, right? It has to be successful for you to get a return on your investment. So I expect that people will step up and help with this planning. The next thing is, I have a collective of approximately 4,000 artists. We want to get them on board here. So we will create a program that onboards those artists on here as the early creators, so that as we get to mainnet, we are already humming. We are already buzzing. We've got activity already happening on here even before we hit mainnet without the release candidate sort of moniker. So we'll be doing that, and we'll be working on different dApps and inviting different projects to come on here. As I said, when we get to sort of the prime mainnet, we don't want to wait until then to onboard projects and dApps. We want them to be planning and be ready and working when we get to that point. So those conversations have already started, by the way. We are not waiting. And last but not the least is release candidate 3. That's when we get into DEX. So DEX is where we have the Vitro token. Then we have more dApps and projects. That's going to be an ongoing thing. You're going to see that again and again. And this is when we get really, really serious about creators. And you will see at scale marketing, events, things like that to onboard creators by the thousands onto this protocol. And then we finally get to our mainnet. But as I said, in my mind, look at the evolution of this mainnet across release candidates as an already there mainnet. I don't expect there to be any changes in the protocol. So these are just monikers for us to feel comfortable that the code is good and scales well, etc. I don't expect there to be anything more than a few tweaks at the most. But starting with RC1, it's really us progressing on the trajectory of a mainnet and getting live projects on there and getting live things on there. It's once we hit mainnet RC1, which is basically here, right? we're talking about an active blockchain where all we are doing is focusing on its stability and its scalability and its security. So we're going to eyeball it, and that's what the RC1, the release candidate 1, 2, 3 are about. They are not about wholesale changes to the code. We are done with those when we hit that milestone. All it is polishing, tweaking, and making sure everything is working correctly. So that's basically what we are working on through here. So yeah, so that's the launch plan here, and each week I will add more color to this. So you've seen the detail that's here. You're going to see that same level of detail on phase 2 and phase 3 also. We are not going to leave any stone unturned. We are thinking through all aspects of this. Every aspect is being covered.